Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump has every right to lash out or respond to really the most blatant propaganda spin. One of the normal everyday discourse when it comes to things that shouldn't be blue or red, that shouldn't be politicized. Democrats, number one, had primaries in March, in the beginning of April, at the height of the crisis, when they were condemning and pontificating and judging and telling everyone that they were experts, that they knew how to handle everything. They had primaries in person in Illinois, Arizona, Florida, and then the Wisconsin primary kicked Bernie Sanders to the curb. All in person, by the way. Not that they had in-person primaries while they wanted to abolish the Electoral College. So they get into these like little obsessions that they have. They want to abolish the Electoral College. Well, of course, now they don't want to abolish the Electoral College, but everything was predicated last November on keeping people safe, and yet they still had 4 in-person primaries. And I don't know how much they expanded access in those primaries. So they could have, they canceled most of their primaries, and they had a whole bunch a little later in the summer. But it's interesting how they needed to kick Bernie Sanders to the curb. So you better believe they had in-person primaries. That's just a long list of really hypocritical and duplicitous actions taken by the Democratic Party. If you're so worried, let's not just focus on that, because that's something that most people don't even talk about. So they had in-person primaries. In Wisconsin, people were getting drenched in rain and pelted by hail. Just, like I said, to vote against Medicare for all. So this is the Democratic Party. Look at the cases. Before we read Politico, Trump lashes out at Fauci and Brix after CNN documentary. Fauci. I don't even know what's algorithmically friendly anymore or not. The former president released a fact challenge statement, right? Criticizing the former advisors after they criticized his administration's response. They were part of his administration. How do these people get out of... So hit subscribe to this channel, because I'm going to use basic logic. Can somebody tell me how they get away? They've circumvented any responsibility. So when they say, Trump's pandemic response, he was being impeached right before every governor, including Andrew Cuomo, was blindsided by it. 34% of all the lives lost were in elderly care facilities. New York and New Jersey, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and California now have numerous scandals/stories where the governor, especially in New York, put infected people in elderly care facilities. How is that Trump's fault? That is attributed to 15,000 lives lost in New York alone. How on earth is that Trump's fault? They keep on, and then you have, go to the New York Times right now. Go to the New York Times statistics. I'm not making it up. Go to the New York Times statistics. Okay? Total lives lost. California and New York, well over 100,000. Approaching 110,000 lives lost. Okay? That's not Trump's fault. How on earth is that Trump's fault? Almost 1 out of every 5 life lost. Okay? Then you look and total lives lost all time. California and New York lead the entire country. You could say, well, they're both the most populous states. New York has the highest per capita rate. Actually, New Jersey does. Those are both Democratic-run states. New York has been the epicenter for a long time in terms of lives lost and highest per capita rate. When Dr. Anthony, we'll just call him, when Dr. Anthony F. I don't know. You never know what's safe nowadays in terms of the algorithm. Dr. Anthony F. was asked by Rand Paul. He said, well, they were hit hard at first, and they made a lot of strides. Andrew Cuomo is now being investigated because of a very courageous Democrat, Ron Kim, and other Democrats who were courageous. Well, they finally had enough. He put infected people in elderly care facilities. How on earth is that Trump's fault? Phil Murphy did the same thing. God bless the people of New York and New Jersey. It's the epicenter of what's taken place. I started off, by the way, just really quickly, talking about the primaries because when it's politics, they put politics ahead of health. They pontificate and preach and condemn. They have no leg to stand on. They have no right. They have absolutely no moral authority. They barely have, they have experts that they believe. If there's an expert in Sweden, no, we don't believe that person. If you look at the aggregate data, don't look at the aggregate data. It doesn't show anything. We'll look at the aggregate data. California, New York, and then you have Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Illinois, and Massachusetts. Okay? Then Michigan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold on one second. So, California, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Illinois, Massachusetts, Michigan. 7 of the top 11 states in the country with the greatest number of lives lost have been Democratic-run states. They account for roughly 40% of all the lives lost in the country. How is that Trump's fault? I would love to have anyone explain how that's Trump's fault. This is according to the New York Times statistics. Then they say, his response, the federal response cannot dictate or tell governors the state level. You cannot tell the states what to do. The Democratic response by Dr. Anthony F. was horrendous, was horrible, was absolutely horrible. They have no right to pontificate or judge. When Herman Cain lost his life, they gleefully stated, he didn't wear. Oh, look. I say, yes, I agree with the experts, and yes, wear, I agree, whatever your doctor says. But look at what happened in Democratic-run states. California and New York lead the country. Again, New York has the second highest per capita rate. California, New York, Pennsylvania, and Texas and Florida's up there, but Texas and Florida have more people than New York. Florida, I know, does have, actually, both of them have more people, and they have a much lower per capita rate. So when Jonathan Swan was trying to ambush Trump and say, the country's per capita rate, it's like, other countries don't have Andrew Cuomo or Phil Murphy. Whitmer did the same thing, by the way, in Michigan. They came up, they had bizarre, hush money payments in Michigan that people are talking about, that people are reporting on. And then you had immunity deals for the elderly care facilities as people were losing their lives. California, New York. And then Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Illinois. 6 of the top 10, 7 of the top 11. And if you look at per capita rates, so let's see here. New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. This is today in the New York Times. The top 4 states. And then you add Connecticut, 5 of the top 7 states with the highest per capita rates are Democratic-run states. How do you judge and pontificate and say the experts agree? Well, apparently, all the smartest people in the room who blamed Trump for the response didn't get it right. So did they want Trump's national response to be the response of Andrew Cuomo or Phil Murphy? Because, by the way, Dr. Anthony F. and Brix, they presided over all of this. They're the ones who did not predict any of this. None of the multinational agency or organizations predicted any of this. They went literally from impeaching Trump, saying that you realize they were worried about him pressuring another country to investigate poor Biden, President Biden, our beloved President Biden. They go from one propaganda spin to another, and people truly believe this. They truly believe it's all Trump's fault. He had no authority to tell any governor anything. He had a national response and guidelines. That's it. He did pretty much exactly what the wonderful medical experts told him. The state governments were completely blindsided, and they made the situation worse. Red states have a much better outcome. I'm reading you the actual New York Times statistics. And then the economies for those the Democratic-run states, 13 of the top 14 highest unemployment rates. So I want to read you this. Trump lashes out as Dr. Anthony F. and Brix. After CNN documentary, the former president released a fact challenge, of course. The doctors were never fact challenged, even though they presided over all the lives lost. They blame Trump, but it's like, it's unbelievable. All right, so, quote, based on their interviews, I felt it was time to speak out about Dr. Fauci, Dr. Anthony F. and Dr. Brix, 2 self-promoters trying to reinvent history to cover for their bad instincts and faulty recommendations. True. How do they get away with? They had bad policy decisions that would have left our country open. Okay, so, again, Fauci said the decision to go all out and develop a, shot in the arm was the best decision that I've ever made. What? You've ever made? That was Trump's Operation Warp Speed. That's your decision now. Okay, so Dr. Anthony told that Trump's social media use ran counter to what the administration response should have been. What does that even mean? These aren't specific, like Andrew Cuomo put infected people in elderly care facilities and 15,000 lives were lost directly because of his decision. You can't blame the majority of lives on anyone. But if you make a specific decision like that which Trump had nothing to do with, you ask Dr. Anthony F., can people protest? I don't want to opine. Can people work? Definitely not. He literally just did whatever was politically acceptable. Like, I don't even want to get into his talk. Basically said, so then Trump said something about liberating Virginia recently. So, because the pandemic was unknown to the world before late 2019, scientists and officials revised their advice. Yeah, that's the problem. You don't give Trump the benefit of the doubt, but everyone else can revise their advice. Well, I'm sorry. Your word is not gospel if you're going to continue to revise your advice and learn from your mistakes. When Andrew Cuomo's brother on CNN was confronted, he said, well, he learned from his mistakes. Well, then Trump learned from his mistakes. How's that? Oh, no, he's not allowed to do that. Brix told CNN the Trump administration could have done more to prevent hundreds of thousands in New York. New York would never have listened to Trump. Or New Jersey, or Michigan, or California. You think these Democratic states that account for, or Illinois, or Michigan, or Pennsylvania. I look at it this way. For the first time, we have an excuse. Then there was the original surge. All the rest of them could have been mitigated. How? You didn't even know. These are opinions of doctors. And this is like a fact-challenged statement. There's no facts that he stated that were wrong. So his opinion is fact challenged, but Brix's and Dr. Anthony F's were not fact challenged? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is unbelievable. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Trump is 100% right on this. Democrats have convinced themselves, because every single publication blamed President Trump for the 500,000 to 600,000 people, ignoring the fact that the federal government cannot tell the states exactly what to do. States that had the most draconian responses have the worst outcomes. This is according to the New York Times. Tell me, if you're a Democrat, explain the New York Times. 7 of the top 11 states and the top 4 highest per capita rates are in Democratic-run states. How on earth do you have any right to judge or pontificate or condemn or get on a moral high horse? You have no right at all, especially if you're a Democratic partisan that blames Trump for everything. Give me your thoughts. Thank you.